This is the Two Bald Guys Sports Podcast. Bald heads, bold takes. Now, here are your hosts, Adam and Tony.
Welcome back. I'm Adam.
I'm Tony.
All right, Tony. We went off air last week, or went off air. We posted our podcast last Thursday or so, and I was hoping that Max Crosby would go to the Bears, and then Friday night, the Ravens decided to trade for him. I was like, well, all hope's lost. Well, now we're back here. We're taping this on a Wednesday, and I'm hoping that the Max Crosby will go to the Bears.
The Bears. I mean, I was. Yes, we knew Max Crosby was probably going somewhere, and he went to the Ravens, and I thought the Raiders got a pretty good deal for him. A couple first-round picks, they had some good stuff because the Raiders need to rebuild offensive line and some defensive players for sure. And let's give Max up. And we got that. And now we have potential to start building for the next couple of seasons. While Max is in his prime, he can go somewhere else they're kind of ready to make that next move. So I was like, happy for Max. I'm happy for the Raiders. Everything's looking good. And then the Ravens decide, I guess they don't feel Max's health or something with it because he had that meniscus surgery. I think that's an issue for them or something, but it just seems kind of weird. They knew that going in to this trade. Why they pulled out when they did is kind of strange to me.
So obviously the thing going around. So we know this. Before I get to that, we know, when you have a trade, they go through, the physical. Normally, if you do it during the league year, they can do the physical almost like right away, and they get all that stuff done. It's almost like it's done, before they even get the trade announced. But this one, because of the new league year not starting until this week, and I know the legal tamping period, and technically the league year started today, but stuff was happening on Monday and Tuesday. They couldn't do the physical. So, the physical happened, and, I think we had technical difficulties for a little bit. I think I was disconnected from it anyways. So that's why I'm pausing. Anyways, so they go through the physical. Now, they had to know, even though Max Crosby was pissed that the Raiders didn't let him play at the end of the year, they knew there was a knee issue, right? That everybody knew there had to be a knee issue. It can't be a secret, like that he had surgery on a meniscus. So do you think that that's really why the Raiders pull out? Or do you think they got a little bit of, not a bad, but some people were giving a little bit of crap about giving up 2 first-round picks. So do you think they got cold feet and decided, you know what, this gives us an out?
Yeah, that's a good point because experts and fans all jumped on the Raiders and were like, great job, Las Vegas. You made a great deal. Everyone said the Raiders got the best part of that deal. But if you're the Ravens and you're looking at that and you're thinking, oh, wow, did we mess up somewhere? Why is everybody kind of praising the Raiders for this trade? You still got a heck of a player he's 28 years old. He's got at least 3 solid, really good years left in him, maybe more. So you might be onto something here. The Ravens looked out and went, wow, everyone's praising the Raiders and graded the Raiders traded an A and ours is like a C or whatever they gave them.
Right.
And then all of a sudden got a little hurt by that. And they decided, you know what, we're going to pull out and we're going to go find somebody else. That's a pretty good point. You might be right on.
I mean, and I've heard that from some people. It's just weird the way they came. It went down. And listen, right. I know you can have some concerns, but of all the injuries to have in the knee, the meniscus is the best one to have. Now, don't get me wrong, no injury is good,
right?
But the meniscus injury is one that's easy to come back from. Most people don't have a problem with it. Hell, Max was playing with it torn,
correct.
So obviously he needed to get it fixed. But if you would have watched Max play throughout the year, and I know you were because you're a Raiders fan, I saw him a little bit when he was playing against the Bears. You would have never known he had anything wrong with his knee. Nothing.
Nope.
I don't think there's any signs of him playing injured. So now, obviously, he's got to come back from the injury, and he's been on crutches and stuff like that. But they knew this stuff. So, I was shocked that the trade went to the Ravens because it didn't look like they were in the thing of it. And I don't know if I would want the Bears to give up 2 first-round picks for him because that could be a lot. But I think one is fair. We talked about this. You're getting a Max Crosby that what you're getting, and any draft pick, even if you had the number one draft pick, it's a guess. Even if you had, I mean, even Peyton Manning coming out, guys like that,
You don't
they're
know.
still
You don't know.
guesses. You think he's going to be good, but it's still a guess. I mean, we've seen guys that look like they were can't miss guys that never made it, and then you get guys that didn't look like can't miss guys, like Tom Brady in the 7th round made it huge. So
Right.
to give up 2 first-round picks is a lot, but I tell you what, the Raiders, and I read about this, the Ravens players and the Ravens fans are really darn excited about having him come, and now he's not.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, though, the Ravens did pivot pretty quickly, and they signed Trey Hendrickson this year, keeping him in the AFC North. But is that damage control, or is that the guy they really wanted?
Well, right. When I first saw that, I'm like, wow, did they really want Hendrickson off the bat? And like they couldn't put something together for him, so they went after Max? Or is this a knee-jerk reaction to, okay, we canceled on Crosby, we got to jump on somebody real soon? And Hendrickson is a great player. I don't think I'd put him at the Max Crosby level, but he's a really good player. But he's also a few years older. I think he's 31. I think I was looking up like stats and stuff like that because I was like, what's this guy have that Max doesn't? And I still think, at the end of the day, Max is a better player, but I think the Ravens felt better about the Hendrickson deal than maybe the Max Crosby deal. And Hendrickson is a great player still, but I think that you might have been hit something on the head when you said everyone was jumping on the Raiders of how great that trade was, and the Ravens were like, whoa, did we mess up here? Now they have Hendrickson, so they have their guy that they wanted, a defensive lineman. They needed that, and they might have made a better deal than the Max Crosby one, I think. So,
yeah. And
we'll see what happens to Max after this.
Yeah, we'll see. The Raiders, it was funny how the Raiders posted it. They're like, the Ravens have backed out of the trade. We will have no further comment at this time.
Yeah.
Somebody joked, this is what you post when you have a breakup, that like what a high profile breakup, like when Ben Affleck and J-Lo, got divorced, or like they're getting a divorce, no comment at this time. Like it was just kind of funny. Obviously the Raiders are pretty pissed about it. I mean, because you had to be like, do you want to see Max Crosby go? We've talked about this. No, but to get 2 first rounders for him, I mean, for what you're trying to accomplish in Las Vegas right now, I think that you'd have to be pretty happy with that. You're getting 2 first rounders, 2 Ravens first rounders, which, who knows where they would be, but it still gives you 2 first round picks in each of the next 2 drafts.
Right. And I think the Raiders need to build offensive line first and then defensive backfield. Like that's kind of where they need, and you can get quality offensive linemen down. I think the Ravens are somewhere in the 20s this season. I mean, you can get quality offensive linemen late in the draft, even second round, but obviously losing Max on the defensive end is huge. But like you said, the Raiders need more than just Max Crosby if they want to move forward and try to take the next step. So I think it'll be interesting to see where Max goes. I don't think that he's gonna be a Raider this season. Somebody's gonna try to pick him up. Like you said, maybe your Bears reach out now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Bears, you definitely do, because they cleared up that space, by getting rid of DJ Moore, and then they released Tremont Edmonds. Now they did sign defensive back from the Seahawks, and they got a couple other guys, but that money is still there. There's still money that they can spend. So I think players have been able to come back to the teams after they've been traded and it has fallen through. But the Raiders, like, they traded him once. I think Crosby's ready to be gone. He had accepted the fact that he was gone. I think if you're the Raiders at this point, to be right to Max, you have to try and work on another trade at least somewhere. Because I think that's just going to be real tough. I mean, I'm sure the Raiders players will be like, we'll take you back. Hey, we didn't trade you.
Yeah. Right.
Come back to that organization. It'd be tough a little bit. Like I would be a little bit tough. Like, the way last season ended with the 2 games, whether he should have played, should not have played, who knows? And the fact that they did trade him, I think you got to, make that trade for him. I'm still in the boat with the Bears. I would love to have him, If we didn't get him, I wanted to kind of go after Trey Hendrickson. But, I think once that trade went, I think the Bears might have been on Hendrickson if the trade didn't dissolve. But now go back and get Max. Put him on, like we said, with Montez Sweat. I think he gets traded. I just hope he stays away from the Lions as a Bears fan. The other teams I've obviously heard of, the Cowboys and the Eagles are in there too, and possibly the Jaguars. It'd be shocking for him to go to the Jaguars, but that'd be a pretty interesting place for him to go.
Yeah, I definitely I want him out of the AFC because I don't want to deal with him until the very last possible game, if possible. Because you don't want to trade a guy and then have him come back and kick your butt a couple times a year, or at least once a year. So if he goes somewhere, send him off to the NFC somewhere. That's fine. But my concern is that trade with the Ravens was really good for the Raiders, and the Ravens backing out. Are other teams going to look at that and be like, okay, we're going to go after Max, but they're not going to give what the Ravens were willing to give at that time. So that's my concern. The Raiders are not going to get 2 first-round picks and this and that. I just think the deal's going to be a little bit different. If your other team's looking out there going, well, the Ravens backed out and everyone said that the Raiders got the best of that deal, well, we're not going to do that same deal. I mean, that's my fear, that we're going to trade Max, but we're not going to get as much as, we're going to get with the Ravens.
I'd be shocked if they got as much, just because that deal was already, deemed a success for the Raiders, and the Ravens weren't getting as good of a grade for it. And not that you want to go with what everybody says, but I will tell you this: if you want to go get him, like if you're the Bears and you're like, we want him now, then obviously you could just go, hey, we'll give you the exact same thing the Ravens did, and the Raiders will take it. The Raiders would be stupid not to take that, because I just don't think they're going to get it. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Max Crosby. But sticking with your Raiders a little bit, they have made some moves. They signed Tyler, I think Lindenbaum is how you the center from the Patriots.
From the Ravens.
From the Ravens.
The Ravens, yeah.
He was the best guy out there. They may have overpaid for him, but the center is what controls the line and shifts guys and all that stuff. And if you're going to draft Mendoza, which obviously all signs point to the Raiders drafted Mendoza, you have to protect him. And I think the center is absolutely where you start. And then since he's a right-hander, obviously the left guard, left tackle would be good too. But the center is where you start. And you know what? You got to be happy the Raiders addressed it.
Yeah, they're making moves that are addressing the problems. They got the defensive back out there, or not a defensive back, the linebacker from Philadelphia, Nakobe Dean. They got him. He's a solid player. They re-signed Eric Stokes at defensive back, which was good. And then they're starting to build that offensive line because Geno Smith's gone. They got rid of him. Aiden O'Connell's the only quarterback on the roster right now. So that just leads you to believe 100% they're taking Mendoza, and there's no questions about that. So yes, getting that center, he's a top center. They paid him a ton of money, more than any offensive lineman, I think, out there, or any center for sure. But you're right. That's where it starts. He's kind of the quarterback of that offensive line. So you got that piece, maybe 1 or 2 more pieces on the offensive line, and build up that defense just a little bit. And the Raiders can, at least they look like they're going in the right direction. That's really all I can ask for right now, is look like you're going in the right direction. And maybe in a couple of years, playoff bound. This guy reminds me of maybe the Bears a couple years ago. Like, they look like they were doing the right things, and now look at them. They're making playoffs and they're winning playoff games.
Right. The other thing with the Raiders too is you announced that you're going to release Geno Smith. You have no intention of keeping him, and you still find a way to trade him. You got the Jets to call you and trade for him. Now, you gave up Geno in the 7th round, but you moved up a round. Like, you got another 6th-round pick, which, of course, who knows what's going to happen in the 6th-round pick. But, like, the fact that you were able to trade a guy that you said you were releasing, you didn't even say, hey, we're going to release him if we can't find a trade. You just said, we're going to release him. And I thought they did release him. And all of a sudden, they're like, the Jets traded for Geno Smith. And I'm like, what? How'd the Raiders pull that one off? Like, how did they get somebody to trade with? Like, the Jets, here's what I think happened is the Jets didn't think they had a shot to sign Geno Smith in free agency, which would make sense. So they're like, you know what, we're gonna do this. We're gonna take care of it. We're going to make sure we get him. And they did that. So I mean, I guess I understand it in that respect, but Geno's saying all the right things. He's like, it's a full circle moment. I'm going back to the Jets, and I want to be like, I don't know if that's where you want to go, but you know what? The way he played last year, I mean, maybe he should be happy somebody wants him.
Yeah, I mean, he led the league in interceptions, and he got sacked 55 times or something ridiculous like that, which I get it. It's on the offensive line, but you're not going to a place that is typically known for their strong offensive line and weapons and things like that. So, I mean, I guess Geno's just happy he's got a job maybe, and somebody's going to pick him up because you're right. He's sitting out there in free agency. Who knows what was going to happen out there?
Yeah. So, all right, let's go to some other teams here and some things that happened. Obviously, we're down here in Florida, Miami. One of the first things they did is they released Tua, and they didn't waste any time finding their quarterback. They picked up Malik Willis. Malik Willis was drafted by the Tennessee Titans, struggled mightily there, looked horrible. Went to the Packers as a backup and did really good in relief of Jordan Love when he was hurt. And he parlayed that into, a contract with the Dolphins. Do you think he'll be successful with the Dolphins, for one? And two, do you think the Dolphins are better off with him instead of Tua?
Yes and no, because I think he's a talented young man, and I think he was in a nice situation there in Green Bay. And I think we've talked about this maybe a month or so ago about he was successful in Green Bay because of coaching and the way they run their offense and things like that. And that can be a huge factor when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, you look at guys like Baker Mayfield, who had some success in Cleveland, but really has turned it on since he went to Tampa Bay. So we've seen Willis play well with the Packers, but he's going to the Dolphins team that seems to be kind of in that area where they don't protect the quarterback that well either. I mean, that's why Tua's hurting, that's why he's out, and I'm surprised he's still playing. But can he do it? Yes, he can, but he needs the right coach. He needs the right team. Like he was on a pretty darn good Packers team with a good defense, and he's got a great running back over there. So I think he can, but I think he's a guy that needs the right situation and the right coach. And maybe it'll all work out in Miami for him. It's going to be a lot warmer than up there in Green Bay for him, so that might help a little bit. But,
yeah. The defensive coordinator for the Packers is the new head coach there, I think. There's some familiarity there, but yeah, I mean, we've seen this before where a backup guy has played well and has flipped it into a contract, and it doesn't always work out. So, I mean, I'm not rooting against him. He seems like he's a good dude. He did what he needed to do. I was happy when Jordan Love. Again, we don't ever hope somebody gets hurt. But when Jordan Love went down, it's like, okay, cool. And then Malik Willis came in and played pretty well against the Bears, even though the Bears ended up finding a way to pull that game out. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the Packers do as a backup because, Jordan Love's been hurt a little bit. So Malik Willis goes there. Didn't take too long to find a job. He goes to the Falcons, where Kevin Stefanski, the former Browns coach, is now at. And looks like he's going to be the starter because Kirk Cousins was just released and Michael Penix Jr. tore his, I think, ACL. So he's out. Who knows how long he'll be back. So, I mean, somebody joked they got him and they got, obviously Michael Penix Jr. Maybe they should sign Dylan Gabriel and have a three-headed left-handed monster.
Oh, my gosh.
But, he gets to play in a dome. Is not going to play a lot of games in the cold weather unless they make the playoffs. I mean, it's probably the best situation he could have been in if he wants to keep playing. So the interesting thing is how well will he play? And if he starts to play well, does he keep playing or does Michael Penix Jr. get the starter job back when he's healthy?
When he's healthy. Yeah. So that's going to be the whole thing is going to be how soon can Penix come back and actually, participate and compete, because Tua is a capable quarterback. We've seen him have, moments over there in Miami where he can make plays and he can throw it. And the Falcons are not that bad. They have some weapons out there. Their running game's pretty solid. They got a great tight end, Kyle Pitts. They have some guys over there that can play a little bit. So he's not in a horrible situation. And I don't mind the coach either. I think he's a pretty solid coach. But again, you got to protect Tua, and I can't believe he's out there playing. I mean, I just feel like he's a hit away from really, really, and we've talked about this before, a hit away from just possibly being in bad shape for a long time. But, we're not doctors, so if the doctors are out there telling him to go out there and play, then, we got to trust him, I guess, a little bit. So I think he can be successful there, and he's, like I said, he's got some weapons out there, so it's going to be really interesting to see, because right now, you're right, with Penix hurt, he's got to be the guy because it gets real thin if something happens and he goes down.
Yeah, maybe more power to him. Maybe if like we're just speculating, obviously, we're not speculating. We saw the injuries happen, but, we're speculating with how bad it is and all that. If the doctors say you can play and he wants to play, who are we to tell him what to do? Yeah. But it just, from the outside looking in is what we looked at. So he goes to Atlanta. Daniel Jones, who is another person that's hurt, kind of got a career resurrection in Indianapolis. He's going to stay in Indianapolis. He just agreed to a 2-year, $88 million contract. They say he's going to be ready for training camp, but we'll see because he tore his Achilles, I think. So, you know, who knows what's going to go there? You know, they're still supposedly trying to trade Anthony Richardson. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Colts. You know, where Kyler Murray just got released from the Falcons. I'm not the Falcons, the Cardinals. The question with Kyler Murray is, does he want to keep playing football, or does he, you know, maybe pivot? Because, you know, way back when he was drafted really early by the Oakland A's, now the A's, Athletics in Sacramento. Does he pull a Michael Jordan and go play baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was drafted top 10 somewhere with them. So, yeah, he could, if nobody picks him up, I mean, he's a heck of an athlete. I think he could probably turn on and go play baseball. The difference is he's probably not going to get paid like he would in football, and he's probably not going to go right to the show in the MLB. He's going to have to work his way up through the minors a little bit and prove himself, I'm sure, which I think he probably can, but it's going to take him a little bit of time. But I think somebody will pick him up for a backup or something. I think they will at worst case scenario, and who knows, he might even find a starting role somewhere. But I think he will find a team, minimum backup to somebody, maybe even starter. I mean, I don't know. If I'm the Dolphins, I might think about him. If I'm the Jets, I might think about him up there with Geno. I mean, just teams like that their quarterback situations even a little rocky or unknown. People getting hurt, obviously, or just they're not real deep. I mean, even the Raiders, like Aiden O'Connell's the only quarterback right now, and you're gonna bring in a rookie. Pick up Kyler Murray. Maybe Kyler can help out and be the starter for a few games until Mendoza's ready. I mean, I think he'll get picked up somewhere though, for sure.
I think he will too. And I mean, it's just, you know, one of those things that throws out there because, you know, he's always been a little bit, I don't know, how much do you really care about football? And he seemed like to care a lot about playing his video games at night. But the team that I heard that you didn't mention there was the Vikings. You know, do the Vikings trust J.J. McCarthy? Yeah. I still think it's a little bit early to give up on him. I know maybe I'm a little bit biased because he came from Michigan, but, you know, a lot of people think he's going to go there. I know, you know, Kirk Cousins will link back in Minnesota. I think that'd be a mistake. I mean, Kyler Murray, you know, he's talented. You know, can you rein him in? Would, you know, the coach at Minnesota, I can't remember his name, Wilson O'Connell, I think, could he get him to kind of write and, you know, because he's got the talent there. He's a Baker Mayfield-esque type of guy where he can really move. He's got a little bit of arm strength. You know, if he gets put in the right situation. I mean, if you're a quarterback and Minnesota calls you and says, hey, you have a chance to be our starter, I mean, you got to be like, you know what? Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Addison. Is there? Naylor's not there anymore because he signed with the Raiders. But I mean, if you're a quarterback and the Vikings call you, I mean, you could do a lot worse. I mean, you're going to throw to arguably the best duo, like 1-2 punch, you know, maybe outside of like Higgins and Jamar Chase in Cincinnati. But, you know, the best 1-2 punch, and I'm not saying Addison's a great receiver, but you pair him up with Jefferson, that's pretty darn good.
Oh, absolutely. If I'm a quarterback sitting there going, you know, who calls, who am I going to? If you have a number one guy like Justin Jefferson, you have to be taking advantage of that, because this is not like a team with no weapons or no defense and nothing going on. The Vikings are not that bad. I mean, they're a season removed from Sam Darnold winning 14 games with them. Yeah, they lost the first round of the playoffs, but they have talent on that team. And if you are a quarterback and you think you might be the starter on that quarterback and you got a guy like Justin Jefferson to help you out, boy, I would jump all over that in a second. And you're right, Kyler Murray is like Baker Mayfield. He's faster, but I think, and you mentioned the video game thing, I know that was a few years ago, but you got to think the work ethic of Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield might be a little bit different, because Baker has been more successful, but Kyler has been with the Cardinals and they haven't really been good in 20 years or so. Maybe sooner than that, but yeah, I would jump all over the Vikings.
Yeah, they had a little success, you know, with Kurt Warner and oh my gosh, Larry Fitzpatrick was there. Yeah, I mean, you got to think that's a great. I mean, you think about this. The Vikings were not great last year. They didn't play well at times, you know, and they still finished 9-8. They found a way to finish 9-8, even with all, you know, the quarterback situations, all that stuff. Justin Jefferson obviously had a down year. Was it because of McCarthy and the other quarterbacks? Who knows? But it was down. They finished 9-8. You put a quarterback in there. I mean, their defense is good. The problem is they do have to. They are in salary cap hell right now. So like they've got to fix some things there. So it'll be really interesting. I mean, obviously, some more dominoes to fall. The quarterback situation is about sorted out, but I think Kyler Murray really is kind of that last one. I know Kirk Cousins is out there, but you really that last one there. And does Aaron Rodgers return to the Steelers? But God knows that might not happen for 3 months now. So we'll flip over to some of the running backs here. I know Breece Hall got tagged. We thought he had a chance, but Kenneth Walker Jr. or the third.
Oh my gosh,
Kenneth Walker the third. Super Bowl MVP was pretty good outside of that, but obviously he really popped off in the Super Bowl there. Signs with the Chiefs, and we talked about this. We said the Chiefs needed that running back. Which by the way, Isaac Pacheco signs with the Lions, which that might be a good little spot for him too. Be behind. Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think Pacheco is the number one guy, so that might be a really good spot. But Kenneth Walker the third, the Chiefs look like they finally got a running back. They haven't had one for so long, especially with Patrick Mahomes there. So, will Patrick Mahomes get back? They're bringing back Kelsey. I'm a little surprised he's coming back. They need to find a little, some receivers there. They're and their offensive line wasn't great last year, but that running game will help because Mahomes needs help.
Yeah, and I think you manifested this, if I remember, about a couple weeks ago on the show, that you were talking about the Chiefs, him going to the Chiefs, and I obviously personally don't like the Chiefs, and I said, yes, that would make sense for the Chiefs, but I don't want this to happen at all, right? Obviously, because Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP, just had a fantastic playoff run with the Seahawks. Now you get Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce there with a running back of his stature. Like now they've just went from maybe – on the downfall of the Chiefs dynasty that was starting to build. We think they're on the downfall. All of a sudden they are back in the conversation. Like you said, they need a couple guys, maybe offensive line help, maybe some of that defense, but now all of a sudden they're back in the conversation. Obviously Mahomes coming back whenever that happens is going to be a huge factor, but now we're talking about the Chiefs again. Stop it.
You don't like that? You don't like the Chiefs being talked about?
No, I was having a good time with the Chiefs not making the playoffs, and now they got a running back, and now they're doing things. Like Andy Reid's a great coach. I mean, I don't know how much pull he has on getting players, but he's just a great coach. He's going to find stuff on that offense for Kenneth Walker to get him involved, and they're going to be dangerous. If Patrick Mahomes doesn't miss too many games, they're going to make the playoffs. It's going to be tough to stop them.
Yeah, you just hate to see it. You don't want to do it. So another thing that kind of shocked me with free agency is Mike Evans, right? Mike Evans has been this great receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, had all these 1,000-yard seasons. I think it was like 8 or 9 to start his career, like was a record. Pretty impressive. Just the constant or he's just a constant in the Bucs offense,
Yeah, 1,000-yard guy.
Signs with the San Francisco 49ers, and when he leaves, he says it wasn't about the money. The Bucs gave him a pretty good offer, so he leaves the 49ers. So my question, and I got a bunch of questions for you, is what does that say about the Buccaneers that he didn't want to sign back with the team? He's the only team he's ever known.
Yeah, that makes you wonder what's going on in Tampa Bay that a guy like Mike Evans, who's had great success there, he's been the guy there, and all of a sudden he's literally just leaving to leave. I mean, that's what he says. It's not the money, but I mean, when he makes a comment like that, you have to kind of look at that and go, what's going on behind the scenes? Is it the ownership? Is it the coach? Is it the locker room? Is him and Baker not getting along? I mean, it makes you wonder what's going on because a guy like Mike Evans, who's been so successful there, you think the Bucs would do what they could to keep him, but he's coming out and saying, basically, Bucs, I don't care. I'm gone. I'm happy to be gone. I mean, it just makes you wonder. It really does. What's going on in that locker room?
Yeah, what's going on in that locker room, or is he just seeing, some writing on the wall that they weren't going to be good? But I mean, and what really looks at is like we talk about this all the time, with the playoffs and in your season. You want the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance to win the division is with the Bucs. I mean, the NFC South, the Panthers were better, and the Falcons could be a little bit better, and the Saints weren't horrible, but they're nowhere near the NFC West. Like the NFC West had 3 teams in the playoffs last year, and I think the 49ers were the worst of them, and they had 4 or 5 losses. Like this is a really good division. You're going to where the Seahawks just won the Super Bowl. The Rams are getting better. And the 49ers, I mean, if they stay healthy, I mean, oh my God, they could be really good too.
They're
But,
ridiculous.
but maybe he, now you have, Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield and you got, Mike Evans to throw the ball to. Brandon Ayuk's going to be gone there. Can Ricky Pearsall stay healthy, and I think Juwan Jennings might be gone too. But I mean that Mike Evans, for a team that gets hurt a lot in the 49ers, they needed somebody that's there a lot, and Mike Evans is there a lot. I mean, I know he's been hurt a little bit, but he's pretty consistent. So I like the move a lot for the 49ers. I hate the 49ers. Like, I know not the hatred that you have for the Chiefs, but I don't like the 49ers. I think this is a really good move for the 49ers.
Yeah, you got to think when you say consistency. I mean, I'm just looking at Mike Evans, and he's been around for about a dozen years now. He has 11 1,000-yard seasons. He's second in most 1,000-yard seasons, only to the great Jerry Rice, who has 14. So, I mean, you want to talk about consistency. This guy is consistent now. Is he coming toward the end of his career? Maybe, but this guy has just been a 1,000-yard guy almost every single year. And it is kind of weird that they would just be like, he'd be just like, I don't care about the money. I'm going someplace else. But like you said, maybe he just knows the Bucs are just not that team to get him to a Super Bowl and possibly win one. The Niners, like you say, when they're healthy, good luck beating them.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just Fast and the Furious. And technically they couldn't sign until today, but that legal tampering period, started on Monday, and it was like I had a kid in my class go, I didn't realize how fast this free agency works, and I'm like, yeah, they weren't talking before this happened. There's no way. Like you just had all this stuff drawn up, and you sent all these offers out, and they'd never seen anything before. You knew exactly what language and years and numbers to put together for these guys. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me that that's that quick. So it's like one of those things. We've seen it with things. We've seen it with vacations. In schools, and the one time I think they gave the Friday off before spring break at my one school, and they took it away, and people started taking Friday off. So they're like, you know what? We'll give them Friday back. And guess what? People started taking Thursday off. They're always just going to push it back. You say the legal tampering period starts on Monday. Well, people will start talking before that. But a lot of movement this today too. Bradley Chubb signs with the Bills. The Bills are making some moves. They got DJ Moore from the Bears. Now they're signing Bradley Chubb. We'll see how much Bradley Chubb has left in him. But the Bills are, they got the new coach. Joe Kelly came in there. So, can the Bills finally get over that hump and do some of these signings, maybe help them, or are they just still going to be at the mercy of Josh Allen not being able to get over that playoff demon?
Yeah, I think the Bills are that team that they have a short window right now to try to put a couple more pieces in there with Josh Allen at quarterback before their little run might come to an end. And they need to do something to get over that hump. And we really thought that this last season was it because the Chiefs are not in there. The Ravens are not in it. Like, this was the time that Josh Allen and the Bills needed to step up and make their run to the Super Bowl, and they just couldn't get it done. And now you're looking at they're battling Patrick Mahomes with a Kenneth Walker, and now they're battling the Ravens, with Hendrickson on defense and healthy guys. So, boy, the Bills are 2-3 years away from having to kind of redo things, I think, because they're just trying to put pieces together, and it's not quite working out for them.
Yeah, they're starting to, they're wasting. I don't want to say wasting because they've been good and they've made it to the playoffs and stuff. But Josh Allen is this era's Dan Marino right now, right? Wins a lot of games, gets to the playoffs. Dan Marino did make it to the Super Bowl, but at least one and maybe a couple, but he didn't win one, and many people argue he's the best quarterback never to win a Super Bowl. Well, I mean, if Josh Allen keeps on this trajectory, he's going to be right up there with him, with how well he's played. So, I mean, the Bills, they're trying to make some moves here. I think, adding DJ Moore, well, I'm happy he's gone. Maybe he works out there for the Bills. And I mean, it could be dangerous. I mean, they have some decent receivers out there, obviously. And Dawson Knox, I think, is staying. And they got Kincaid out there. And obviously James Cook. So, I mean, that offense isn't going to be the problem. It's can that defense stop
somebody.
Yep. And we'll see. So it'll be interesting. A lot of stuff still to go on. We start to build up towards the draft. But as this free agency started here, I was thinking as a sports fan, and I know we talk football, obviously, but as a sports fan, outside of, if you're a big football fan, outside of the football season happening, is there a better time of year than right now? You have free agency, hope springs eternal. Your teams, you're like, you know what? If we just make these couple moves, and all of a sudden you start to talk yourself into we could be a playoff team. I'm sure there's parts of you as a Raiders like, okay, we make these moves. Could we be a fringe wild card team? And then you got March Madness. You got the college turn, or the
World Baseball Classic,
the World Baseball Classic. And you got March Madness coming up and all this stuff. Can you think of a better time outside of football season for a sports fan?
Yeah, football season's tough to beat because you get into the NFL starting, get going, and then you get into October. College football is rolling, and then you got playoff baseball. That outside of that, right now, like you said, you have March Madness coming up, which is always exciting. Whether you don't even have to be really a college basketball fan. If you're a sports fan, you're doing a bracket. You're filling out a bracket. Yeah. You're going to watch Selection Sunday. You're going to look and see, okay, who's maybe good. I haven't really watched all year, but maybe I'll see if I can pick somebody. Michigan can win it all. Is Nebraska for real? Like Iowa State seems to be pretty good. Arizona, all those teams. So yes, March Madness. Right now, you're in free agency. You can talk about the draft. How does all this free agency change draft? Right? Does that kind of stuff matter? Teams are picking up guys now. Does their draft change a little bit too? Maybe they're going to try to trade down now because they don't need a guy because they got a guy from somewhere else. I mean, all this stuff is fun to watch to see how it plays out. And you're right. As a Raiders fan, people are saying, oh, the Raiders are doing good. Raiders are doing good. So I'm starting to get a little bit excited about, oh, maybe we can make a run. But I'm gonna stay down. I'm still staying down for at least 1 year, hoping in 2 seasons that's the year we can kind of make a run. And I'm hoping Mendoza pans out like people think he can. I think he's a really sharp kid. He's got the size. I think he has the arm strength and he can make the throws. I think he can do it. But statistically, if you just looked at his statistics in college, they weren't they weren't Joe Burrow type statistics or anything like that. So can he be the Raiders guy in the next few years? I hope so. But you're right. I'm trying to keep down a little bit, not get too excited. But part of me is like, come on, we can do something with this. Let's go. New coach, everything.
I mean, you're right where I was at last year, except we had the quarterback that was a little bit established where we signed those offensive linemen. I was like, you know what? We're addressing what we needed to address, the Bears, that is. And I was really starting to get excited, and they exceeded my expectations this year. So now it's like, all of a sudden, I got Super Bowl dreams for next year. So this is where the teams are. Even the worst teams have, you talk yourself into things, right? We do this all the time. I do it with games, when Michigan's playing or the Bears are playing, you go from, I remember when Michigan won the national championship in Washington, you went to the point, you do it's almost like when something goes wrong and you're like, the first step is this, and then the second step is acceptance, and the third step is deny, whatever it is.
Right.
And you do it and you're like, when Michigan was going, I'm like, there's no way they lose to Washington. And then you hear some people talk about Washington. You're like, I don't know if they can stop them. Like, Washington's too good. We might lose. I'm really worried about it. Then you go to the point, you're like, wait a minute, we're good. We're good. So that's what teams are right now. Our fans are. Is like, oh my gosh, if we just sign. I mean, I'm kind of like that right now. If the Bears sign Crosby, I'm like, you know what? They're the NFC North favorites for sure, right? I mean,
100%.
You start to think that way, and it's like, what is going to happen here? So. It's an exciting time of the year, and like you said, with March Madness, you don't need to know basketball. You're going to fill out a black bracket if you're sports. I mean, they're free all over the place, and then if you like to gamble a little bit, you start to put some money into it. So
throw some money on it.
But it's fun. It's you're not going to see it with the college football where you're going to get that huge upset. But this is a time of year where you love to see those little guys beat those big guys, and it's so much fun. Right. And, when you get 2 games going on in one spot, all of a sudden the fans that's ready for the second game are all of a sudden cheering for the little guy, and now they got more fans cheering for them than they have all year. So great time to be a sports fan.
Yeah, like you said, everyone's doing a bracket because you think you're going to pick – and get them all right and all that stuff. And like you said, the upsets in March Madness are more frequent, especially recently, and they're more fun than you see in college football. We just haven't seen those upsets like that. But in March Madness, that's why it's called March Madness, because we've seen now a 16 take out a 1 seed. Like, that was unheard of back when we were growing up. Like, that just wasn't going to happen. But now you're seeing it because of the way that recruiting and transfer portal and all this stuff factors in. So you have really good parity in college basketball, even more than before. So it's always fun to watch teams go in there that you think might get upset. Like I think the Purdue getting upset was a huge, like one of the biggest probably in March Madness history. But I think you have to be excited. Your Michigan Wolverines are one of the top teams, I think, to make a run at winning this whole thing. So you have to be excited about that. I don't think
I'm really, this is about as excited as I've been for the, I mean, they're 29-2. Yeah, it's pretty impressive that, they were the first team in 50 years to go undefeated on the road again in the Big Ten. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive what he's done. We talked about Cignetti being a home run hire for Indiana football. Well, Dusty May is the coach at Michigan, and he's come in and done some pretty impressive things in 2 years. So if he goes and wins a national championship this year too, it's going to be like those two guys are going to go down as two of the best hires. I think Cignetti would still take it because Indiana was so bad. Yeah. So bad. Michigan at least has had some success in basketball. Indiana really never had success in football. So, yeah, I'm excited, but it's just a fun time of year. We got, free agency going crazy right now. It's starting to slow a little bit, but we'll start to get some things. As we wrap this up here, we're going to leave this podcast again. And I'm going to hope that by the next time we talk, the Bears have Max Crosby.
Yeah, I hope Max goes someplace where he can flourish in the next 3 or 4 years during his prime, and I hope the Raiders can get something for him. Raiders are making moves. I'm excited about it. I don't know who to cheer for in March Madness right now because I'm pretty sure 100% my Sooners aren't going to make it in. Creighton, I hope, makes it in because I do like Creighton from Nebraska. And, Nebraska football fans are all of a sudden jumping on the Nebraska basketball bandwagon because now all of a sudden Nebraska basketball is somewhat relevant. So that's a little irritating. But I'm going to have to look and see who I'm going to cheer for to possibly win this thing. I might jump on the Wolverines. I need to look at the bracket, but Selection Sunday is not for it's coming up on this Sunday.
It's coming this Sunday. Yeah. Hey, you know what? There's I won't call you a bandwagon person. You got some friends that are Michigan fans.
I got several.
Come over. Listen, Oklahoma made it to the College World Series in baseball a few years ago. I was rooting for them. So you know what? Yeah. You're more welcome to come over there. Come over to Michigan, and then they win the national championship. Maybe we make it up for the football game, and I can show you some banners or something. I don't know.
There you go. That sounds like a plan.
So, hey, listen, we'll come back next week. I'm sure there's going to be more free agency signings. Hopefully, well, I should say hopefully, but there probably won't be a backing out of a trade. But, the NFL is going to keep us with plenty to talk about. So, buckle up. Hope your team is making the moves you want to. Or, maybe we'll come back and talk about some teams that aren't doing enough. But we'll come back next week. We'll talk free agency. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about college basketball. But we'll come back and do all that next week. Until then, I'm Adam.
I'm Tony. Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to the Two Bald Guys Sports Podcast with Adam and Tony. Don't forget to check out our partnership with Happy Nuts.